is well suited for underground projects of this nature. 2 miles is a reasonable stretch. There are things that need to be done to connect to that cable and to route. The proposal is for two circuits. So when you run 2 circuits, then you have redundancy, and it's a very doable thing.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And next. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Kim Bradley, and I am a real estate broker in Virginia. I'm also the licensed certified appraiser in Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. I bring with me 17 years worth of experience in valuing residential properties in the Northern Virginia area, and I've also lived in Western Prince William County for 40 years. So I'm intimately familiar with values in there and how they are going to be affected by what's being proposed here. I support HB 2356 as it balances the investment cost against losses borne by us as individual property owners. And the impact is real. People that are in my neighborhood are there long term. These are not $500,000 houses. These are $1 million houses. These are estates. So there's a lot invested here. Our team has estimated the loss in value of property owners adjacent to Dominion's power lines could experience, and that's up to $10 million just on one route alone. So you can see it's extensive. Obviously, a partially buried, it's very minimal. I think on one of the scenarios was the 1.2-mile version, 9 homes were affected, versus on the $10 million route, it was 551 homes. And you'll see all that detail in the written testimony, but it is significant, the difference that you will get by burying some of these properties and protecting us as homeowners in the value. Individually, these property owners are going to see their loss differently when they go to sell their house. Currently, we have about $10 million on the market currently along some of the routes. But when we go to refinance and get home equity lines of credit, things like that, that's where you're going to see an impact. As an appraiser, we call these incurable external obsolescence. This is something that is permanent. It will impact our community forever to have these kind of towers put up. Prince William County's tax base is going to decline because of this. We've already seen a decline in our values when our bubble burst. It's now starting to come back, and it's going to decline again, and that's a significant impact. To close, I'd like to say that it's the SEC doesn't take property value loss into their negotiation factors, and they really should. It's a big deal. And it's not just us as homeowners. There are other people within our community, including the Willing Warriors, which Kelsey's going to speak now and tell you a little bit about their program and why it is affecting them significantly. And I thank you for your time.
Yes, next. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Kelsey Dominic, and I'm here I'm representing Protect Prince William County and also Bull Run Warriors Retreat. The Bull Run Warriors Retreat is a 11,000 square foot property located on a 37-acre parcel of land in Prince William County on Bull Run Mountains. The sole purpose of this retreat is to provide a respite home for wounded warriors, the wounded, ill, and injured warriors and their families. So, to say the least, our nation's heroes. The one point that I really want to make to you today is that this indefinitely is a life and death situation. For those men and women who are lucky enough to make it back from overseas after war, the number one killer is suicide. You can see how without programs like these, people like this fall victim to these statistics. However, also being less than 30 miles away from the largest warrior transition battalion in the nation, you can see where we meet a crisis and need. The one thing that I want to say is that our men and women indefinitely deserve better. We come here and our community, the one gift that we want to give them is a home away from home in the beautiful view of the Bull Run Mountains. We want to provide an escape where Rural Crescent is supposed to be king. For those of you who do not know what Rural Crescent is, it's a law that's supposed to be in place to protect the heritage and prestige of our mountainous region. So you can see how this is kind of spit in the face of our nation's heroes. But more importantly, Yes. More importantly, what I want to say is that I think that the fact that we're taking this away from them is such something to be ashamed of. And what's really unfortunate is the fact that we're going to be putting these towers in their front yard. So you can imagine a 100-foot tower equates to about a 11-story building in front of their 11 or 2-story high cottage. This is something that is imperative to protect the prestige of our community, and unfortunately this is not the only thing that's being affected. So these men and women basically, they gave everything but their lives, and I think that they're the reason why we stand here today. They're the reason why you're in the position of power that you are today, and I think this is the last thing that we can offer them in return. Actually, it's the last thing that we owe them in return, and I think it's about time we pay that debt.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One thing, and I appreciate what you're saying, I would just be careful here too. I don't think Dominion or anybody else is spitting in anybody's face. Look, I am fully for the bill here. I would just be careful. Here's the fact. Dominion's got, the SEC requires Dominion to put various routes on there. They got a southern route, they got a northern route, I call it the Haymarket down the middle route, and then they got the New Road route. I don't like any of them with the down the middle Haymarket route. But I don't think Dominion or any of these people are spitting in the face of veterans. So the only thing I'd say is, I know you didn't mean it like that, but I think that would seem all harsh. And I would just ask people, everybody's trying to, I'm with you, but everybody's trying to do what they've got to do on this and find a solution.
Agreed.
And so I would just reframe it. Mr. Chairman, I've got stick back. I'm wondering if I could ask the previous witness a question.
Right. Are you about, can you finish and then we'll go back? You can finish, and then we'll go back to the previous.
Okay. Well, to conclude, I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak and speak on behalf, but I do think that in the end there is a win-win situation, and that I think that we should err on the side that is the right thing to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can previous witness come forward for one question?
I mean, you were just talking about your real estate appraiser. Can you give the people up here an idea? I mean, we were talking about appropriate in areas here. Now, if you're going through a forest or basically sparsely populated, can you give everybody up here an idea of what's in Heritage Hunt, Piedmont, and Dominion Valley? I mean, those neighborhoods.
As far as number of homes, values, what are you looking for?
Yes.
Types of homes, so.
All the above.
Heritage Hunt obviously is a 55 and over community. It's very dense there. We're talking about over 1,000 homes that probably values in the $10 million range of properties. Piedmont is similar to that. It would be 1,300 homes.
What are the individual homes, John, you think?
In there, they're in the $500,000 range because they're on the little tiny lots versus the acres as you get more into the rural crescent areas.
And what about Dominion Valley?
Same thing. That's about 1,600 homes. Again, they've got their estate section, so they're running anywhere from about 400,000 up to about 1.2 million.
And Mr. Chairman, can you give in some of the, I represent the part of Manassas, the Cat Harpin, some of that area that's 10-acre lots, 20, what are those homes running?
Well, for example, if you're in Cat Harpin, then you're familiar with Sanders Lane and having their power lines run through there. And we just recently appraised a property that is, $500,000 on Sanders. So that's kind of in that range too, because they tend to be a little bit older homes versus the
But
newer
there's some
shape
bigger
homes.
homes in there too.
Yes, there are. Mhm.
Now, what do they run? What's the maximum in that
The
area?
maximum in the Cat Harpin area is probably going to be about $2 million.
2 million? Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You mentioned your testimony the loss of tax revenue due to reduced assessments.
Yes.
How much tax revenue is Prince William getting from the data center that its zoning allows to come in?
They won't give us that information, so I
Okay.
have no idea what that offset would be.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I tried to get a site plan for Prince William County and they wouldn't do it. This is all hush-hush and I have no idea who I can speculate who the ultimate customer is for Amazon. But I would just ask you to report this bill. I would suggest, given the discussion here, to take the emergency clause out of it. But again, in all respects, this is identical to what 10 of you have voted for twice, and 3 of you have voted for once. And to say that the citizens of Prince William should not be protected when circumstances have led to this, I'm not seeking to assess blame, but we've done this in the past, why would you not do it for these individuals now? That's all I'm saying.
Do you have another witness?
No, I don't.
Okay. Any, those who are opposed to the bill, if you'll come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, my name is John Ross. I'm here on behalf of Dominion Tower. You've heard a great deal of testimony today about the fact that you have a data center that's being put in the wrong location, and that's generating all of the angst that you've heard today. The location of the data center is not a decision by Dominion. The location of the data center is not a decision by the State Corporation Commission. The location of the data center is not a decision of the data center operator. It is a decision of the local government. And basically, they are the ones who have elected to place the data center there. Let me talk directly about the project that we're dealing with. Dominion has a responsibility to serve the businesses and residents of its service district with electric power. And if there is a data center that is going in within our service district, we have a responsibility to provide them with electricity. And that is what we are trying to do in the Haymarket project. We have looked at a number of solutions. Delegate Hugo talked about the number that are there. One of those solutions is a hybrid solution, which would have both underground and above ground components of this particular service line. That's a part of the mix. It's what we are looking at right now and trying to evaluate as best we can. It's going to be very seriously considered. It's going to be one of the alternatives that will probably go forward to the State Corporation Commission. But this General Assembly has said as a matter of policy that we cannot put solely an underground line to the State Corporation Commission if there is a feasible overhead alternative. So that will go forward with feasible overhead locations as well. Ultimately, the decision on whether this line is placed underground or above ground is a decision of the State Corporation Commission, which they are uniquely qualified to make. There has been a great deal of discussion about the pilot program that began in 2008. And there's no question there was a pilot program to try to evaluate bringing transmission lines underground. All of us are familiar with distribution lines being underground, the ones going by the house and working through. But transmission lines are a little different animal. And there was a real question about what the feasibility was, how the lines would hold up, what would happen with it. There is new technology. The gentleman who's the electrical engineer spoke about that. It's very promising for dealing with these lines. And it was one of the things that both the State Corporation Commission and Dominion wanted to look at in terms of how we deal with transmission lines. That program called for 4 lines to go through the pilot. We in fact got 3 lines through the pilot and had to extend it in order to get 3 lines. Largely because you did not have overwhelming local support for undergrounding the project, largely because you did not have the cost-benefit analysis 2.5 times on most of the projects we were looking at. What we found is that in doing those projects and actually putting them in place, the Commission developed a protocol for how do you deal with these projects. They developed a way of looking at underground projects and trying to evaluate whether they make sense. There's been a lot of discussion about estimates on how much these lines are going to cost and how much the difference is. Just point out to you that one of the lines that was in the pilot program was estimated to be cost $14 million underground. It cost $137 million underground because we ended up having to drill underneath interstate highways and do other things of that nature. So cost estimates are relative. You don't know what you're going to run into until you actually get into the work itself. But what the State Corporation Commission concluded when it went through all of this process is that any party to a proceeding may propose an underground line, and many do. And the Commission has to evaluate